Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome to our online viewers and to our audience here in person. Just before we begin, I'd like to announce that if there's anybody in the public sitting right now that would like to address the board, if you could please make sure that there's some yellow forms out there on the round table that you need to fill out, and if you can please give it to Miss Mary Lou Delgado, and she will, once it's time for the open forum, she'll go ahead and let us know who is wanting to speak to the board. Okay, and then I'm just reminding you, please silence your phones and to please limit your sidebar conversations during the meeting. Thank you. So I now call this Gadsden Independent School District regular school board meeting to order for Thursday, June the 9th, 2022 at 5:02 p.m. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call?
Mr. Cano?
Present.
Mr. Castillo?
Present.
Ms. Flores?
Present.
Ms. Murillo?
Present.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Present.
Madam President, we have established quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. Let's go ahead and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the New Mexican flag. Thank you. Mrs. Murillo, can you please read our mission statement?
Yes, ma'am. The Gadsden Independent School District will ensure that all students will learn by putting education first. The district will provide quality educational opportunities conducive to learning that will facilitate students' individual goals.
Thank you, Mrs. Murillo. Okay, moving on to item 3, Superintendent Dempsey will be providing us district updates and recognitions. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, welcome this evening. I have a couple notes that just recently have come in, and I want to just update the board. Vado Elementary was selected as a structured literacy model school, and so that's an opportunity for them to get some additional PD and some work, some options through New Mexico Public Education Department, and that just happened this week. And so we'll be looking, we don't even have that officially in writing yet, and so as soon as we get that information, we'll start working that out. But it's a great opportunity for Vado. I did need to note that our parent meeting regarding attendance zones for Yucca Heights is scheduled for Wednesday the 15th, and we'll do an in-person meeting and a virtual meeting. Okay, so that's coming up, so if you haven't marked your calendars. And then I also, in addition, I want to welcome Ms. Vela back. We appreciate all her work, and she's back with us, and she looks terrific, and we hope the baby's doing fine, and welcome back. Thank you. Okay, Legislative Education Study Committee presentation with public school budget development. I got to do that presentation this morning. We started a little after 8:30, went about 2.5 hours. Some of you might have been able to see that online and get your copy of it, but what really I utilized what Ms. Martinez had created in our budget meeting and tried to adjust that as we've moved forward. What I think Mountain Air, which is a much smaller district near Albuquerque, did their budget presentation and was able to show a shortfall after all these raises And then I came in after much larger district, obviously, and I could show a shortfall. So what some legislators believe, and it was said today, was we thought we provided this incredible jump and boost. They did, not as incredible as they thought, though, because what they don't understand when they, and you know, one of the comments I made, I was asked what they could do, what could they do to make a bigger impact? And my response was increase the unit value, but don't add any restrictions. Because when they add restrictions, you limit to what I can do. You limit what Ms. Martinez and her team are able to do. So if you just increase the unit value and let locally us decide what we need to do, then you'll get what you're looking for, I think. And not every, I'm going to warn you, LESC is a very friendly committee. The next one will probably be LFC, and while they're friendly and they're going to work with us, their questions are going to be a lot harder and a lot more pointed. I haven't been asked to do that presentation yet, but it's probably coming. And so remember, they're the people that count every dollar and want us to make sure every dollar matters. And you heard a little bit of cash balance conversation. That one will be that group with cash balance is going to be very pointed. But I think ultimately all I can do is tell the story of where we're at and where we believe we're headed. And I can give them recommendations from the superintendent of Gadsden, how I think they could better serve us. They're not going to want to hear no other, increase the unit value, don't do any other restrictions. That group's not going to want to hear that. And that won't be met with cheers. But that's really ultimately what I think needs to be said. I think in the future we'll probably be able to say, here's a number. I got asked for that today, and I actually had one in my head, but somebody had texted me that let's not go there because we really need to probably have a better conversation about inflation. I don't think anybody can look into a crystal ball and say, here's what's going to happen with inflation. Here's what's going to happen with gas prices. Here's what's going to happen with utility prices. The district that presented with me said they didn't estimate any increase in utilities. That almost seems like going to fail, a thought of that nature. Everything else is increasing. Why would we not think electricity, water, and those things are going to increase? And so, that was my experience today, and I think ultimately a good one. I did already receive one email and 2 phone calls from some of the members on that committee as I was driving home. And so I think that's a good step in the right direction. I did try to kind of scream a little bit, and I don't know if it hit as hard as I personally wanted it to, is we're supplementing transportation. We're doing the things you're asking us to do, extended learning time, K-5+, those type of programs, and our transportation dollars are dwindling, and we're having to put more operational dollars towards it. So I really wanted that to hit harder. Personally, I don't know if it did, but that's another point to make that we're like $1.1 million now in, so over $1 million that we're supplementing transportation. So that's something that's coming our way, and I'll make sure each of you have a copy of the presentation I used. I think there'll be some adjustments to it and some tweaks, but if I'm asked to present at LFC, I'll make sure you're aware as well, okay? The next item I have is High Reliability School Summit. I think you're aware, you're probably hearing a lot about Marzano Training and Marzano Resources, and this is a vendor that we've really bought into and feel like that they can really benefit us. They have a conference in San Antonio on January 25th through the 27th. So, Ms. Villalobos had worked to offer that to many of our administrators and our leadership team, and we'd like to offer that to any board member that would like to attend, because that might help you kind of get a feel and a frame for what we're trying to do in a very short time frame. So if that's something you're interested in, please let me know as soon as you can, and just shoot me an email if you can by the end of next week if you're available to go. I'm not sure if we've decided how we'll travel. The last time we did a trip to San Antonio, we did vehicles and Suburbans. gas prices that may not be any cheaper, and we'll have to see, how that plays out. But that's our thinking right now, and if you're interested, please let us know. Okay? Those are really all the updates that I had. So we'll go to board member report. Ms. Murillo, you want to get us started?
So I thought the summer was going to be better, but it's actually busier for some reason. Yesterday I went to pick up the boombox. I was part of that, and it was really neat. There was a lot of kids, and we met at NMSU, and I got to see like the different ages. I picked up one for my neighbor, and she's going to third grade. So it was very different, the age appropriate. My son did them all yesterday, so it was not for the whole summer. It was for one day. He did it in 2 hours. So it was a very neat. So I just want to remind the public to take advantage of resources like that, opportunities like that for your kiddos, and then remember, it's free. So. I saw a couple of vehicles picking up for various kids, not just for their own, and so just remember that that's an opportunity as well. My son went today, I think it was today or yesterday, I forgot, to pick up the lunches. Was that right? It was this week. And so he said there was a big line. So also that was another plus. So another reminder, please go pick up your lunches and your breakfast at your local schools. I went to the law conference with my colleagues, and it was nice to spend some time with the leadership in a different level, because here everything is so formal, and being over there, sitting down with you guys in certain sessions and got to exchange some ideas. I think it was really neat, and I think that was pretty much it. I think it's just been so busy coming back and then just trying to catch up with life. And next week, Tuesday, don't forget, for those of you who signed up your kiddos for the Jump Start, my kid did, they start on Tuesday, 7:30 in the morning. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murillo. Mr. Cano?
Well, it's finally over the year, okay? Thank you for all my administrators, all the administrators out there working hard, and now they got to work summer. For those, I'm sorry, but I also want to say, I guess I could start as an early thank you to the cafeteria people, well, especially because they're going to be out there in this hot summer, giving our kids meals, working to that through all the school. As Ms. Murillo said, we had the law conference coming this weekend. I got to sit in at some of them along with some of the administrators that we have. Great. Hopefully next year we can have a different and go and enjoy the hospitality and the lessons that we get taught out there. That's about all I have in my members report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cano. Mr. Castillo?
Thank you. And like everybody else, the law conference, I personally, that's the one I like the most. February, I don't like dealing with politicians. Then the other one, I don't like dealing with the elections. But this one, what I like about this one is that since I've been on the board, the law conference, I found out more things we can do. It seems like it's the law conference and everybody goes with the attitude, they're going to tell us everything we can't do. And every time I go there, I find things that we can do. So I enjoy it. It's pretty cool. I enjoy it. And then that's where the New Mexico School Board Association announces their scholarship winners. And congratulations to Violet Ramos. She got one of the 3 scholarships for our region. So congratulations to her. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cano. Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you. Good evening. I just want to say that I'm excited that the students were given the opportunity to participate in the Admentum program for those students that were either lacking some of the credits and those that wanted to do they wanted to advance. So that's something that is enforced right now, and I think it's a benefit to many students. So I'm looking forward to see how that goes and perhaps making it grow for next year. Same thing. The conference was excellent. I think that it's pretty neat to be able to have the dialogue and that communication, and then everyone understanding what is expected of us, and having, we had principals, we had some of the directors, and so this time it wasn't just the board, so that's pretty neat. I hadn't had the opportunity, even though that I started, I did start during the pandemic, so I was doing this virtually, and this is my first time for the law conference in person, and I thought that it is of great benefit. And as Mr. Dempsey mentioned, he was part of the ELESC this morning, and it was very good to hear him, explain where we're standing as a district. We were very well represented, and if anyone has any questions, I think you should be able to go back and view that and see exactly what it is that he is talking about. It's nothing that he just says it here. He's saying it loud and clear to our legislators so that they understand where we're standing. So please, I encourage anyone that is interested in that. And so you go into the New Mexico Legis, and you'll be able to go into webcast, and you can see recordings, and you'll find where he spoke. So I invite you to do that. And I'm not sure, were you going to have another coffee? Or was the May one the last one?
No, I'm sorry, Wednesday, the 15th, I also have coffee
Okay.
with the superintendent as well.
That's what I thought I had seen. I just wasn't too sure, but again, reminding you, right now there's no coffee with the principals, of course, but there will be the last one for coffee with the superintendent. And again, those are opportunities to know where the district is standing, and any questions that you might have. Everyone is encouraged to participate. Sometimes it might be difficult during the school time. Right now, we really don't have any excuse. Let's try to participate so we can be involved. And I think that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Flores?
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us this evening in person, and to our online viewers, thank you so much for joining us. And I wanted to start off by congratulating Ms. Vela on the birth of her beautiful baby daughter. Got to see a picture of her. Felicidades. Es su primer niña, ¿verdad? So I pray that God may bless her and take care of her for many years. And then I'm like, Walgreens, leave me alone. The pharmacy. Let me see. So happy birthday to all our June and July babies. So some of you were born this month, so God bless you. And we sure are glad that you were born, that you're part of the Gadsden Independent School District family. To all our students and employees that were born in June. And we won't be meeting in July, so also to our employees, our students, all of our, like I said, employees, just have a happy birthday the month of July. And then just a reminder to the public that yes, currently there is a Legislative Education Study Committee is meeting, and you can actually join them in person if you like to travel to Santa Rosa. But if you can't, you can actually watch it online. I'll go ahead and post. I actually posted the thank you, Arlene, for sharing that, and then all I did was copy and paste it to my page. So if it'd be okay, Mr. Dempsey, if we could post that on our district website or social media, so that way whoever wants to see that would be awesome.
Sure, we can work on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And then let me see. I also attended the law conference, and it was awesome. I always enjoy those. You always learn something new, and it was also good. Well, we didn't get to exactly have dinner together, but it was good seeing the principals, the directors, and there was principals, and also the AFT local union was there too. So it was awesome to see all of you there. Let me see. And then it's been a very busy week for me, because last week I was at the law conference, like I said, had a day off, and then went back to Albuquerque. I had the privilege of representing 2 districts, my employer, Las Cruces Public Schools, and then the district that I represent as your board president here at Gadsden. So I attended the New Mexico Pet Literacy and Humanities Summer Convening for Literacy. And so, I was with my colleagues from Las Cruces, but I also was able to see principals from Vado Elementary, Cheryl Coyle, Anthony, Ms. Corina Alvarez, si se ve que es correct, and Desert View, I remember Gonzalez, Veronica Gonzalez. So it was good to see them, and then there, I got to see I don't know her official title, but I believe she's like our district literacy instructional specialist, Nereida Antuñez Gamon. She was out there along with her instructional specialists from different elementaries, I guess. So it was awesome to be there. And then I was in the sessions. I actually had a Gadsden teacher right next to me. Had no clue till the end. I'm like, hey, where are you from? And she goes, from Gadsden Middle School. Her name I can't remember, but it was awesome. I was really impressed by. She actually is the daughter of one of our former employees, Mr. No, he's still here. You're still here, Mr. Leiva Madison. It's the very smart young lady. She was representing Gadsden Middle School along with her colleagues, and they would ask questions, and she would answer, and that is awesome to see that we have. I think she's a first-year teacher, and that's awesome because, like I said on my soapbox, what are we doing for adolescent literacy? And so it's awesome to see that, we have awesome teachers that are helping our middle school students with that. And then, to my surprise, when we were sitting, I don't know what day it was, but we were eating breakfast or lunch or something, and the Secretary of Education did announce that Vado Elementary received, was one of it was only about 5, I guess, schools. I don't remember the amount, but that they had received that award, which brings, he said, $50,000 and professional development with regards to structured literacy. So that's awesome. And so congratulations, Ms. Coyle and her staff. And then what else? I think that's it. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Flores.
Okay, moving on to human resource report. That is for the public's knowledge. No action is required on the board's behalf. Okay, and then moving on to item 5, modification of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as is.
Vice President Castillo has made a motion to accept the agenda as is. Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Moving on to item 6, our regular school board minutes for May 26, 2022. Do I hear a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the regular school board meeting for May 26, 2022.
Okay, Mr. Cano has made a motion to accept the minutes for May 26, 2022. Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Moving on to consent agenda, which is item 7. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept consent agenda as is.
Secretary Rodriguez has made a motion to accept the consent agenda as is. Superintendent Dempsey?
So recommend.
Any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to item 8, which is our open forum. Ms. Delgado, do we have any community members that would like to address the board this evening?
Madam President, we do have open forum.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we do have one individual, and for those of you who tuned in last time when we were here present, I did state, because Superintendent Dempsey had provided just a reminder of policy B2150, BEDH. So actually, we can actually give you 5 minutes to present to the board. Of course, if there was more speakers within the 30-minute time rate, I reserve the right to divide it, right? But there's one speaker tonight, so you have 5 minutes. I'm going to ask our speaker for this evening, Raul Reyes, you may approach the podium. And I'm going to ask Mr. Castillo to please take time. So you'll have 5 minutes, and before you begin, let me just go ahead and read the little blurb, okay? So personal attacks upon board members, staff personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent by individuals who address the board are discouraged. Presenters are cautioned that statements or representations concerning others that convey an unjustly favorable impression or representation unfavorable impression may, let me start that again. Good readers correct themselves, right? So presenters are cautioned that statements or representations concerning others that convey an unjustly unfavorable impression may subject the presenter to civil action for defamation. Policies KE, KEB, KEC, and KED are provided by the board for disposition of legitimate complaints, including those involving individuals. Okay, Mr. Raul Tellez, you may begin, sir.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Empty. My name is Raul Tellez. I'm a resident of District 6 out of Sunland Park. I dual-hatted, I would say. I'm the Homeowners Association president for about 350 homes for the Villa Valencia community. And I'm also a parent. My daughter attends La Unión Elementary School. One of the initial questions, because I'm kind of spoiled, I was born and raised out in Texas, so school districts, if you know, are a little different out there. My wife, however, she's a product out of GISD. Coming on board, I remember asking the principal, do you all have adequate security? And I was informed that they do. Going through the course of the first semester, the school year, rather, found out that there was one security guard that was rotated amongst 4 schools. Mind you, I'm not going to poke at the age of the gentleman. He's an elder gentleman. 4 schools, in my opinion, and I would say in anybody's honest opinion, would be it's inadequate as far as GISD has come. I think it's one of the priorities that needs to be addressed. I noticed that Mr. Dempsey, he mentioned the inflation topic. I would also venture off to say, when you're redoing the budget for the district, come to add in to incorporate for that inflation, adjust your budget accordingly to include proper security for all your, not only La Unión, but all your schools within the district. Right now, inadequate. And I know some of them are starting a partnership with local law enforcement for SRO programs. That's awesome, but what's the timeline that SRO is going to actually be in place? Because I'm pretty sure the SRO program is not going to come cheap. There's going to be a fee. If it mirrors something what we have in Texas, they somewhat become district employees. So I would venture off into addressing this concern. Unfortunately, because of Uvalde, Texas, it tends to create a knee-jerk reaction across the nation. And we start probing into what are the protocols in place for active shooter drills. How often are these practiced? Are all your faculty aware of what they need to be doing in order to prevent further atrocities from happening? I would venture off to say the day after the Uvalde shooting, I spoke to several of the faculty within La Unión. They were scared. The whole mindset, the tone amongst the families that did show up on that day, completely present, as they should. Because everybody says, not in my backyard until it happens. And I can guarantee you the people out in Uvalde, they would have never imagined that that atrocity would have happened in their small city. Again, let's not have that or wait for that knee-jerk reaction to happen. The other point that's associated with this security piece is you've got marijuana dispensaries popping up left and right. I know I can speak for El Paso side, we have an increase of marijuana. That drug is running rampant up in the schools. What's the protocol going to be in place, or what are you going to have in place if you don't have adequate security to mitigate and deter that drug from coming into our younger population? Other piece is the growth of Sunland Park. There's no more schools that are being built, however, there's more building developments, more community developments are being housed. What's the plan in place that's going to accommodate for all the growth that Sunland Park is projected to get into? We can't keep jam-packing or reshuffling people throughout the district. Imagine me being a resident of Santa Teresa and having to be asked to take my daughter out to Anthony. Again, let's plan accordingly with that one. I know city officials they're working with developers, but let's get on board with working with those developers and see what land they're offering for the district to develop schools on. Thank you. I use my time.
Thank you. Mr. Tellez, just a quick question. It's 5807 Durrell, correct? 58, your address?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to action item 9A, transportation contract for school year 2022-2023. Superintendent Dempsey.
I apologize. Okay, action items, transportation contract. Jessica's going to present this item.
Good evening, excuse me, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Dempsey. I come before you for action for the 22-23 school year transportation contract. Total contract with Boone Transportation would amount to $6,765,598. I stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments, or concerns for Ms. Cadena? No? I don't believe so. Do I hear a motion? Oh, were you going to make a comment, sir?
No, ma'am, I just want to remind you, it is an action item.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept action item 9A, transportation contract for school year 2022-2023.
Mr. Castillo has made a motion to accept action item 9A. And thank you to our, you're not Ms. Boone, I think you have a different last name, but thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you so much. Superintendent Dempsey.
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, ma'am. Okay, moving on to action item 9B, approval of the 2022-23 district operating budget. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Martinez is going to help us with this item.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. On May 29th, we brought to you the preliminary budget for submission to PED on May 27th. Today, I bring to you the final operating budget. And if you'll turn your attention to the summary of changes, I provided a sheet on top of your booklet. And so I just wanted to summarize the changes from the preliminary budget, which is what you approved on May 9th, to the final budget, which is what is being approved tonight. You can see there that there is a difference of $179,856. The first fund being the Homeless Emergency Rescue Fund, which is Fund 24355. We had budgeted for an estimated carryover of $150,000. PED has notified us that the district will not have budget authority come July 1st, so we had to remove that budget from that amount from the budget. The other change that's come about is Fund 31701, which is our SB9 local. There was an adjustment of $144 for projected revenue from the ad valorem taxes, and so that's an amount that PD enters, and I guess it was off by $144, so they made that adjustment, and so it reduced the budget by that amount. And the other one, which is Fund 31703, was the SB9 state match, and on there, we were awarded an additional $330,000, and so that has also been reflected on this latest budget. And so if the board approves the budget tonight, the board is required to submit the approved budget by June 20th of 2022. And once approved, it will go to PED for approval. And it's, if everything goes well, it would be come into effect July 1st of 2022. Questions?
Questions, comments, or concerns for Mrs. Martinez? Mrs. Murillo, go ahead.
I just have one question. For the homeless emergency rescue, will that apply for the children, like the kids from Chaparral that lost their homes, like stuff like this? Or like what kind of like rescue emergency are we talking about?
I'm not really sure. I don't have an answer to your question. Rosie, do you know the specifics of that fund?
Good afternoon, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. Yeah, what they're talking about is like this special budget that they're going to be allocating just for It's like a special grant that they're going to be receiving just for occasions like that, like the families with the homeless that we can be using with hotels, with families that got in crisis, that really need like immediate social services, like a little extra, which is great for us,
Okay,
which is a great opportunity for our families.
okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I do have a question. I don't know if you would know the answer, whoever needs to answer. I did notice Ms. Lupita Chavez did send a change to the, what is this called? Not the salary schedule, it's the contract schedule. And I just, if it's appropriate to ask, I did see I hope it's the only change that happened, I guess, or it's the only one that I caught was for instructional specialists. We still have 200 days, and then there's like 10 days off. I just wanted to, if it's fair to ask, how did that come across? Just curious.
Actually, I think, I tell you what, let me loop back to you on that,
Okay.
because I'd have to review it. If you'll just get me a copy of what you're referring to,
Okay.
and then I'll make sure we get clarity on that, okay?
Thank you. And I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work with you and your staff, Mrs. I am so tired, but the beautiful lady sitting out there in the audience, thank you for all your hard work, okay? I had one of those brain fart moments, I am so sorry. But thank you for all your hard work, for all your people that work so hard to provide this, okay?
Thank you.
With that, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so Superintendent Dempsey.
I'll make a motion that we
Sorry,
accept
yes.
action item 9B, approval of the 2022-2023 district operating budget.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo, for being my left hand. Okay, so Mr. Castillo has made a motion that we accept the district operating budget for the 2022-23 upcoming school year. Superintendent Dempsey.
So recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. That motion passes. Okay, moving on to discussion items. 10A, Gadsden Independent School District Regulation JR-R Student Records. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, I'm going to present this item. Let me try to explain. In our current policy, and if you'll notice, it's coded JR-R, so technically that's a regulation, okay? And so policy has a process that has to be followed to make sure that you guys all hear it, approve it, right, and there's a discussion. Because this is in a regulation, it doesn't have to follow that, and let me explain why this, in this particular situation, is pretty important. We just came back from the law conference and a lot of conversation around Open Meetings Act and IPRA requests. So those are information requests. So pretty much almost just about anything we do in public education, someone can ask for information, and we are required by New Mexico statute to provide it. In New Mexico, over the last several months, many districts, and I'm going to almost use the word all, I believe all that I'm aware of, received the same information request. And they were very specific to, one of them in particular was very specific to what we call directory information. Directory information currently in our regulation is defined that includes parent email, physical address, mailing address, phone number. And so it's a level of information that I don't believe parents would want provided. Now, right now, I don't have a choice. I have to do it, and everybody's in the same boat. Over 50 districts use the same policy service. We're all in the same boat. The reason why I'm bringing it to you, I want to change that. I want to change it today because I don't want to have to ever do this again. So my proposal in front of you is highlighted, and it would change. It would put directory information in two categories. The first would be what's called school-sponsored purposes. And that would include the district and campus publication announcements, and it would have student name, photograph, date, place of birth, major fields of study, honors received, grade level enrollment, all the demographics of each student. That would be school sponsored. Other purposes would limit any of this to student name and date of attendance. Okay, so what I at some level I'm telling you is I don't have a choice. I have a current IPRA request. I have to provide a lot of student data. And like I said, over 50 districts in New Mexico are dealing with the same thing. I don't have a choice right now. I have to do it. I received it. We're going to work through it, and we'll provide them what we have to by law. Tomorrow morning, I can change it to this, and I would never have to do that again. It would be limited to the student name and the dates of attendance. And I'm gonna call it a flaw in the policy service that none of us really saw. I mean, this policy, Mr. Snowdy, if you'll scroll down to the very bottom, it'll give us a date of when this was, and I bet it says date of adoption or manual adoption. No. Oh, because it's a regulation. Okay, because it's a regulation, it's not going to have that date on it. It probably came with this as we originally adopted it. But we're not the only district dealing with this, and it's a discussion item. I guess unless I hear a concern here tonight, I'm going to make this change because as a regulation we can, and we can definitely have more conversation about it. But we want to kind of get that information. We want to protect that information. I think parents would expect that from us, and we want to make sure we do that as well. Any questions?
Questions, comments, concerns for Superintendent Dempsey? Do we all agree that, it doesn't require board action, it's a discussion item? But because it's a regulation, you can change it tomorrow.
Madam President, board members, absolutely. Because it's regulation, we have the administrative authority, and I will just do it, and I was going to. It just happened. We have a board meeting. Let's make sure you're aware of the concern, and ultimately, I see it as a mistake that was in our policy, and so it'll be changed first thing tomorrow morning, and we will no longer. So if we get another IPRA with a similar request, we're going to only give them what we told them, and you could get a concern that says, wait, you're withholding information. All right, so there's some organizations out there trying to pull a lot of data. One in particular, I can tell you, over 23,000 documents were requested. That's just us. That's just Gadsden. And so those items have to be reviewed and redacted any confidential information that's in them. So our HR department is doing a lot of information requests this time of year. I don't know if why someone would do that unless they're posturing up for some legal actions against the state. That's usually what's going on.
I do have a question. So I think you just answered this. I was just curious if you knew who it was. Do we have a right to know and what the purpose of it is for?
Madam President, board members, they have to give us a name, and we have the name. Does it connect to something else? I may try to draw some lines to it, but I don't know for sure. But it could be that someone's trying to make a case against a state agency or something of that nature.
Okay.
That's what it feels like to me.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for informing us, and yes, do it. Not that you need our approval, but for this one, but go for it. Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Dempsey, I saw, I don't know if you guys have already, but I saw a copy of what's currently under, and it goes almost freaking DNA too. So if you can get them a copy of what we currently have, and you'll see I wouldn't want my kids' information. I tell you, it almost says DNA too, so I think it behooves us to let Mr. Dempsey handle it first thing in the morning and be done, because it's a lot of information.
Just something came to mind as you were saying that, Mr. Castillo, is so if obviously right now, because of the way the regulations are written, you have to provide that information. So at this point, no parent can stop and say, hey, not mine.
We were at the law conference, and that lawyer, she was saying that it's costly because she's got to go through 2,300 pages, redacting other items, but not what I don't want them to know. It behooves us to take care of it now.
Okay. Just wanted the public, in case they were wondering, that it's clarified. Okay, thank you, sir. Moving on to discussion item 10B, legislative requests, junior money. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, I wanted us to get an opportunity to have a conversation in an open meeting to talk about, our legislators work very hard for us, and sometimes they have access to what's called junior monies. Now, keep in mind, junior monies are not supposed to count against an offset. So I can't emphasize that enough. We do not want to create offsets because that will impact our ability to maximize our dollars with capital outlay. But in the last couple of years, these junior dollars have been available and they did not create offsets. So what I'd like to see, if possible, if the board would be willing to give me some topics and some items, I might even offer some suggestions so that we can have a prioritized list to give to our legislators now so that as they get the opportunity to start planning for it, they have an idea what Gadsden board is asking them for. And, security would be a great idea. We had a parent that presented some concerns. Security would be a fabulous idea. Safety and security. Those could look like, it could be personnel, because I know you're talking SEG. These are one-time appropriations, so that gets a little tricky. Probably what I would do there is like some contract service with somebody that, which can help. We could do different locking systems. They have some new locking systems that allows you to lock the classroom from inside. I don't believe, Ms. Cadet, Jessica, if we have actually any of those in district yet. I don't believe, so yeah, she's saying no, we don't right now. So that could be another project. We start working on those so that teachers would have a deadbolt from the inside and the ability to secure that door immediately if they haven't, even though we tell them, lock your door. Keep your door locked so it's already set. That could be another space that we work on. Fine arts and music programs. I know that's been a conversation and a topic. We can always utilize funds there. Those could be for extra field trips for students. They could be for equipment. They could be, for a lot of different things. So I just wonder, those are thoughts I have. I just proposed those. I would love to hear from the board, and if we don't have any ideas right now, start emailing those to me. What I'd like to do is come back at our next meeting and say, okay, here's our list. Are we okay with it? To eventually get a prioritized list that says, here's what we want. We'll even, we could have it as an action item, and then we could send that to our legislators to give them an idea of what we think our needs are.
Does anybody have any ideas this evening they would like to share, or do you need some time to reflect and then maybe come back? Mrs. Murillo.
I think we should meet and maybe have a conversation with the legislators, make some time to spend, some time with them. I know a couple of parents did message me and they said something about a project search program that we had, and that we lost the funding. So they are asking, our legislators are ready to see if they can fund that program. I don't know too much about it. I just heard something about students with disabilities. To be honest, I didn't ask more about it, but I know those parents were asking if we can have that conversation with legislators. So knowing that we already have community members wanted to ask for certain things, maybe collaborate, knowing that we all have the same interests, and Gadsden specifically, because I know the city will be asking as well, and so I think if we just all get together, I know the SROs was a conversation that I had with Representative Lara and Senator Cervantes, and that was something that they were willing to work with in collaboration with other senators that are already thinking about that. So I just think that instead of giving them a big list, maybe, I don't even know if maybe like a town hall meeting, inviting the community, or I don't know, something like that.
Any Mrs. Rodriguez, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I definitely think that creating some kind of I think it's more like a brainstorming and getting information as for what the needs are out there, and definitely having that conversation. But I think that, we know our legislators are pretty busy as it is, and so perhaps creating something with the input from the community, and then coming up with what are the priorities, right? And especially because even though that other legislators are part of this, I think that since we're talking about junior monies, it really is what our legislators our local legislators are willing to support us, and in which way. So I like the idea of having perhaps a town hall, but I think, we need to start like really narrowing it down so that we can create that conversation and that dialogue with them and see where they're standing to, right? Because this is where we're going to give the idea, and hopefully we'll get the support from them because I know that they're willing to help Gadsden. That's what their main goal is. We heard it from Representative Madrid, we heard it from Mr. Lara. So I think, again, concising the whole idea, all the ideas would be what is necessary at this point. So I think that sending that to you and then from there going, perhaps?
So, Madam President, Board members, it sounds like what I think I'm hearing, and I have coffee with the superintendent coming up, so I can create a quick survey, gather some input from people that participate and attend as well. What I think I hear is that you'll send me some ideas or thoughts, and then I'll go to legislators and say, here's our ideas or thoughts. How do you feel about those? And maybe bring that back and give you a report back on how that looked. Now, we could do a town hall. If we do it as a board, we'll just have to advertise it as such. Maybe like a work session. But, I got to come up with a date where, everybody's available.
Madam President. So I like the idea of you presenting that, but is there any way that perhaps having some representation, not have a quorum?
No, sure.
But have some representation from the board so that dialogue, is there? And I mean.
Madam President, here's a thought, and I wonder how people would feel about this. If an outside, just like a basketball game, each of you could go to the basketball game and I don't have a quorum because we're not making a decision at a basketball game. We're not talking about that, right? So if there was a town hall called by the city, and then I wouldn't have to advertise as a quorum because you're just providing input as an individual citizen. But if I call the meeting, I have to be sure there's not a quorum. Okay? So does everybody understand that component? So if we all attended a town hall called by the city of Sunland Park, and there were legislative ideas, we could all provide those. That would be a way to generate the list. It's a little way to sidestep that.
I guess my comment would be as long as we don't forget that there has to be that communication with the state reps, because they're being very generous in the position that they have. And, I don't just want to say, here, ahí está, give this to me. I think we need to continue working on our relationship to see what their vision and goals is for the communities that they serve. And yes, so I guess we have to learn to come, here's the state reps, here's us, the district. We have to meet halfway so that relationship continues to build, and that we're giving input, they're giving input, because yes, solely my opinion is that they are being very generous, and we have to keep that in mind. That's all I ask.
Madam President, absolutely. I just, and I don't mean to bring this up again, I, as a superintendent, should not be approving dollars in a budget. You just did that. That's the board's job. And the way this process works, I get a phone call randomly and get asked, are you going to accept these dollars? That's not a space that I think is appropriate for the superintendent to be doing. I believe that should come to the board. Once you guys approve it, now I have a job to manage it. And that is, without a doubt, the superintendent's role. So I'm really trying to work hard so that I don't find myself in that strange position again with that. And so I'll do anything that you suggest. I'll work with anybody. I just don't want to be approving budgets. That's not a superintendent's role. It's the board's role.
And that's fair enough. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see, moving on to discussion item 10C, request for purchase for selection an architect for Gadsden Middle School. Superintendent Dempsey.
I believe Ms. Vela and Mr. Gagos are going to help with this item. Oh, Ms. Vela. Okay.
Okay, good evening, Main President, Board Members, Superintendent Dempsey. It's my pleasure to bring to you this time the Gadsden Middle School replacement design phase project for discussion. The Public Schools Capital Outlay Council approved on May 2nd the funding for the design of the school. This is for the renovation. We have started the RFP, the request for proposal process for selection of architect. We will have a proposal conference on June 20, 2022 at 11 a.m. in Gadsden Middle School. And the submission proposal will be on July 12, 2022 at 2 p.m. The selected committee will evaluate the proposals, and the interviews will be to be determined depending on the evaluations, and we will come back to the board meeting for action by July and award to the selected architect once it's approved in order to start with the design of the renovation of the school. I'm sorry, the replacement of the school. I just have mixed the both schools. Do you have any questions?
Questions, comments, or concerns for Mrs. Vela?
Madam President,
Mr. Castillo?
you just said we're not having meetings in July. You just said you had to have something by July, so.
Well, yeah, once
according to what we put out, right?
So that will require action of the board.
Okay.
So that's, would that be considered like a special meeting, or? Awesome. Go ahead, now.
Madam President, you said, so July 12th, what is happening? July 12th at 2 p.m.?
July 12th is going to be the pre-conference. Is when
Pre-conference.
all the architects can go and look at the site. We also are going to have it virtually, so they can know about the project so they can also submit the proposals by the July 20, July 20, yes. July 12th, sorry.
Good.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Vela, do I understand correctly, you need, you may need to bring this to the board prior to July 21st, is that correct?
Oh,
No.
by July
No.
20, once we get, okay, I'm just gonna go back. The pre-proposal conference is in July 20, 2022, when all the architects are in the school. And then they're gonna need to submit the proposals by July 12, 2022. So we have all that time to review and do the evaluations, so we can come back to the board for action on July 21st.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, and just as a note, we are required to have one meeting a month. Irregardless, we're always required to have one meeting every month. We usually have two, but we're minimum is one.
So the one we'll be having in July is the new fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just clarification, so for Gadsden Middle School, this is like demolishing and rebuilding,
Yes, correct.
a brand-new spanking building, okay.
Yes.
Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Mrs. Murillo?
The pre-conference for July 12th, is that going to be advertised in our social media for this to be open to everybody, architects, so they can show up?
Yeah, it was advertised starting yesterday, on June 8th. It's gonna be also on Sunday, yeah.
On Sunday, okay.
And we also have it on our webpage already.
Okay, thank you.
How long do these, I don't know what you call it, what's going to happen July, those dates, how long do they take? And then can board members be present as long as there's not a quorum, or how does that work?
That's why I came up to help out. Okay, so we've advertised yesterday and the 12th. An RFP is a request for proposal saying any architect in the whole state of New Mexico, if you're interested in this design work, please turn in your documentation. We will have a meeting on June 20th, right?
Yes.
On June 20th, they get to come and see the school and say, okay, what am I going to be turning in paperwork on? Then they submit a notebook with all their qualifications saying this is why we want the job. On July 12th, that's when that notebook is due. So June 20th, they get to see the school, then they get put together basically almost like a research paper. Here's what we can do and why we qualify. On the 12th at 2 o'clock, we receive those notebooks by 2 o'clock. If they don't turn it in time, they get disqualified. Then after that, the committee that Ms. Vela is going to put together, which she will be the chair, she has 2 people from the physical plant and the regional manager will be a committee of 4, will review those notebooks, they'll score them. There's 100 possible points for that notebook, and then all of them that are turned in will get scored. After the scoring, then they decide, do we need to go for an interview, or did one really outshine the rest, and we just do an award? They typically will do an interview, especially if there's new architects. That's worth 50 points. The same committee does that right before the school board meeting, as I have done many times, and then on the 21st, they bring those results into you. Now, as per who shows up for that mandatory architect meeting on the 20th, anybody's available. Board members can show up and look at who the architects are showing up. There will also be Google Online. If you look at the document that has been posted, there's a Google link that somebody from Albuquerque doesn't have to drive all the way down here for a 1-hour meeting and then go back to Albuquerque. It's a whole day. So after the interviews, if they're held, then she will submit the recommendation, as I have done just last board meeting, saying, here's all the qualifications, here's the scores, we recommend this group. So that's what will happen, and that's the process. Anybody's welcome to attend that June 20th meeting at 11 o'clock, but all that happens is Ms. Vela presents the project, saying, here's what we're going to do, here's how much money we have to do it. If you're interested, come on down and give us your proposal. Any other questions?
Any further questions, comments for Ms. Vela and Mr. Gallegos? Okay, I don't believe so. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next discussion item is, and I stand corrected, I said request for purchase. So request for proposal, selection of architect for Chaparral Middle School. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Vela will present this item.
Madam President, Board Member, Superintendent Dempsey. Now is the Chaparral Middle School renovation design phase for discussion. Again, the PSEOC approved on May 2nd, 2022, the funding for design. And we have already started the RFP process, the request for proposal process for the selection of the architect. The pre-proposal conference is going to be the same day as the Gadsden on June 20, 2022, but at 9 a.m. It's going to be on the site on Chaparral Middle School, and we also have the Google Meet link. The submission of the proposal will be July 12, 2022 at 2 p.m. And it's going to be evaluated. The interviews will be to be determined depending on the evaluations. And we also are going to come back for the board meeting for action on July 21st. Do you have any questions?
Questions, comments, concerns?
Madam President, will the committee be the same one that will be for Gadsden Middle as for Chaparral Middle School?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I do have questions. So when we first were talking about this, I had asked, I don't remember what I had asked, but it was something to the fact of like who decides. So I guess this evening for those viewers that are watching, because I have had community members asking why Gadsden Middle School is being demolished and rebuilt versus Chaparral. And so, you know, I would love for you all to clearly explain who is recommending this. Is it an advantage or disadvantage? So that I could be able, so that the public that's watching that asks me those questions, you know, there's the answer. And I'm curious myself too, you know, is it in the best interest that we remodel versus rebuild? And I had also asked, you know, to what extent, when we're rebuilding or remodeling, how much are we going to gut out? And, you know, do the reports indicate that the foundation is safe for the building to be remodeled, and also the skeleton or whatnot?
Do you want to answer, or shall I?
I can answer.
Give it a shot.
Okay, these two projects are funded and were presented as projects to the PSEOC and the Public School Capital Outlay Council.
I'm gonna ask you, se puede acercar a little bit,
sure.
and then, or hold the microphone just so that it sounds a little bit clearer. I would totally appreciate it. Thank you.
Here, can you hear me better? Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Okay, these two projects were presented to the PSEOC, the Public Schools Capital Outlay Council, They are the ones who select the projects and award the projects, the funding for these 2 projects. So they divide doing by phases. We start also with a building. The first one, it was a building analysis report and the ed specs, the educational specifications. So we have a consultant first to have the analysis on and give us a report of the existing conditions of the school. And based on this report was presented to the council on the public schools, and they review those and give this consultant on this report give his recommendations. Like in Gadsden Middle School, they give a recommendation to replace the whole school based on the existing conditions, on the age of the school, on the building, and the structure. And then now for Chaparral Middle School, based on the existing conditions, and then the structures and the age of the school, they recommend to do the replacement of the school instead of the renovation instead of the replacement. This report was presented to the public schools Capital Council. So based on that report, they follow with the design phase. So based on those recommendations that were presented to them, they give us their funding for design phase. So in this case, they give us the funding just for the renovation of Chaparral Middle School.
So because, I mean, obviously I have no idea about construction, but we're basing it on, because they know what they're doing, they're the professionals with that. So the recommendation is for it to be remodeled, remodeled. And then are we going to be, so I guess I just worry that I don't want the same thing to happen as Gadsden Middle School, where we remodeled once, and then here we are again, or twice, or I don't know, because I had mentioned when I was a middle schooler, I remember attending that school and it being remodeled, and then here we go again, and it's a disaster at this point. So I would not want that to happen to the school in my community, or for any, I wish that didn't happen for Gadsden Middle School, because I attended that school. So, so I guess what you're telling me is that's the recommendation. And so, I mean, when there's, because I remember the pictures, like you would see cracks on the walls, that's going to be fixed by being reinforced, or how does that work? Like when you see in those pictures that, that you see cracks on the walls and stuff like that.
They do also the study and analysis of the structure and then where these cracks come. So this, on this phase, on the design, is going to take care of all these cracks and all the regions, so to avoid that in the future, this class come in again.
Okay, and then once it starts and once the remodeling is completed, what's like is it like, if I remember correctly, or maybe is it like a year warranty, or what do we have once it's done? Like, what's the warranty?
Normally, when it's done, then the construction, we have a substantial completion, and the contractor gave us a 1-year warranty of the job. And then at the 11-month, we have an 11-month walkthrough, going through the school and all what was repaired, and they fix if something come up.
Okay, and I guess the last question is, once we get let me see. At this time, does the architect determine what will be removed? Because I don't, I want to make sure that, I guess, what are we replacing? So is the architect making that choice, or who has made the choice, like what we're replacing? And again, I'm going to use the example of Desert Trail Elementary, where, I don't know if it was the toilets or the mirrors that weren't replaced when it was remodeled. Like, at what phase, who decides?
We also share with the architect once the building analysis report of what's already done. So on there, they give all the recommendations, and from then they can just take care of all the stuff, and we can just work together with them in case we decide to change something else that is not in the report. We can just do it in the design phase.
And like those reports, once you choose your architect, those architects will come and present, and then if we need further details, like I probably be the one to maybe make a meeting to get specifications, that would be possible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Vela.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to closed session. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session, personnel session pursuant to 10-15-1, H-2, NMSA 1978 as amended for superintendent and associate superintendent's report on recent personnel actions and issues, employees on administrative leave with pay, employee grievances, employee issues, and superintendent's evaluation.
Okay, Mr. Castillo has made a motion that we enter into closed session. Superintendent Dempsey.
So recommend.
Okay, Mrs. Delgado, can you please take roll call?
Mr. Cano?
Aye.
Mr. Castillo?
Aye.
Ms. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Murillo?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We are now in closed session. Thank you once again for joining this evening. Be safe going home. Thank you.